Hello and welcome to your How to Tech panel. I'm Saige Ryan.
I'm Carlos Luna.
And we're going to tell you all about the streaming tech that you need, whether you want to do something like a remote actual play or you want to get together with a bunch of friends in person and make things. I make things on a channel called PixelCircus. We do a bunch of live actual plays, and we're here in my studio right now.
It's a great studio. I love it.
Hey, thanks. What's your deal?
Yeah, I'm head of series production at Dimension 20. Before that, I did a lot of streaming for Roll20 and other companies.
So I feel like we've both been at pretty much every level of streaming.
Yes.
This first level, I have like a bunch of things written down for it of what these starter items are. These are definitely things I started with.
100%, yeah.
So we're going to go through, we have 3 different tiers that we've broken it down into of kind of different levels of setup. There's definitely gray areas and places in between this. And there are elements that you can take of it where you can be sitting primarily at one, but grab a few pieces from another to upgrade. But those levels that for us are remote streaming, home studio, and studio in person, like where we are right now.
And all of this is interchangeable too, like she just said. So a lot of this is, you don't need all of one thing that we're going to name. You can just upgrade as you go, depending on like what you're working on and what actually, I kind of work on what's ever bothering me in the stream. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times. So it's like, it could be sound, it could be lighting, it could be your camera. And all those things are so interchangeable with itself that like, sometimes people get hung up on like, oh, I need a great camera to stream. And that's not always the case. A lot of times it comes down to lighting. Like I'm a big advocate of having good lighting. But again, that doesn't even cost a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. So then let's start then with what a remoting. Let's start with what a remote streaming setup.
Yeah, that's good.
First things first, you're going to need a camera.
Yes, 100.
A lot of people start on this guy. This is a Logitech C920. It has a privacy screen. Hey, this isn't part of it, but like,
no, those are great.
Do yourself a favesies.
Yeah, I have like a flip one on when I take meetings and stuff like that.
You should absolutely have one of those. There's nothing worse than not knowing your camera's on. So the Logitech C920, I think these range, because they're always on sale, they range from like $50 to $80.
Yeah, this was the number one like webcam for probably the last like 10, 12 years, something like that.
It still is.
Yeah, it still is.
And it doesn't change in price. Look, they don't put out new ones. They don't upgrade it. It is the same thing. This will stream you at 1080. And if you have good lighting on Twitch, especially if you're doing something that's live and in that format, it's going to look good enough. Yeah. You're going to be able to see your expressions. You're going to be able to see yourself emoting well enough. But a lot of it will come down to lighting. The lower quality camera that you're using, the more attention that you have to pay to lighting because it's not going to be able to compensate for you very well.
Yeah, and changing lighting too. So if you're in front of a window or something like that matters. The thing with this camera, if you don't go into the settings, it's gonna like autofocus. It's gonna auto white balance. Yeah, it will auto everything in your life. So if you have changing light, this changes. If you have light in back of you, it changes. So if you have light in back of you, this might make you look a little bit darker than you are. If you have bright light, it might brighten up your face, and to compensate, it'll make the background really dark. So depending on what your setup is, like if you have like neon lights in the background, that can mess with this camera as well. So you got to go into the settings and kind of change those around.
Yeah, but it's still a great place to start. There are a bunch of other webcams that are on the market now, and they're also like really hiked up in price. I know that they have like a Pro from Logitech. They have Razer has like the Kio Pro. They have webcams that go up to 4K now. I don't think that is necessary. When you're ready to make a 4K upgrade, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But this setup is not your 4K setup.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with these cameras is the fact that like it's USB and like you don't need a card, and that's kind of the market it's fulfilling. But there are so many limitations when it comes to webcams just in general. The bonus being USB and the software involved. Yeah. So like that's really what you're kind of paying for. As far as like quality wise, it's kind of stayed the same for the last 10 years. And some here and there improvements, but like you can tell the difference between a camera with glass and then like a webcam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the things that people miss out on is they will buy themselves very nice. They'll save up for like an investment into their streaming setup, and it might be a camera, it might be a microphone, and then they'll get it home and they'll go, oh God, I need 3 more pieces of equipment to make that work. So with anything that's USB like that, you won't, which is really, really nice.
Yeah.
Same thing goes for microphones, which I also think is a pretty strong pillar. You're going to have to be heard in some capacity. A lot of people will use Yetis of some kind.
Yeah.
Blue is a very standard of USB mics, which are great. This one here is the Razer Siren Elite. I still use this for my personal streaming setup. It sounds excellent. It's a USB microphone. I have to do nothing to it. I show up and it sounds lovely. I think it's a little bit higher in price than the Yeti, but it still sits around the $200 mark. And you don't need something like an audio interface, which is going to double that price point usually.
Yeah, the thing with microphones and streaming microphones, just like in general, a lot of what you're paying for a microphone, the fidelity on it has more to do with like, if you were recording into like an audio interface. But if you're streaming already has its own limitations. So it's not going, like you're not going to see that huge of an improvement from $1,000 microphone to $100 microphone if it's good. Like a USB mic versus like something that is like XLR going into like an interface. Again, it'll still sound good, but like the quality in the last like 5 years on USB microphones it's like impossible to tell the difference.
It's going to be such a small difference. One of the other USB mics that people love, I haven't personally used, is the Elgato Wave 3, which is only $150.
That's the microphone I recommend to people. Yeah, it's a great microphone. It's very smart. It's intuitive with all of Elgato stuff. So if you're in that ecosystem where you're like, oh, I know I want to buy the lights and the interface and the little buttony thingy. What's it called? Stream Deck. The buttony thingy.
We'll get to the Stream Deck in a minute too.
Not sponsored, by the way.
Does sound like it.
Highly recommend Wave 3. And also it comes with software that allows you to actually split the audio in different ways that like usually you need like a third-party software to use with any other microphone, but it comes native with the Wave 3. Highly recommend that.
Yeah, that's excellent. A lot of people also, when you get into microphones, will start asking about the Shure SM7B. Everybody has seen a streamer at some point use a Shure SM7B. Yeah. This is where they're like, I'm making my investment. I'm making my upgrade for my it's still a one-on-one streaming setup. This isn't going to be something you would use typically in studio with other people. Don't. I'm sorry, don't. It's too expensive for what you're doing at this time. And again, the audio difference between using your Wave 3 and using your SM7B after you put probably 3 times as much money into it is going to be so small, I think you'll be disappointed. It's a very good mic.
Listen, it's been the industry standard in like every freaking radio station in the world. Like streamers love it. It's a great microphone. It's built like a tank. It's like 30 years old, 40 years old or something like that. What?
Is it really that old?
The SM58 is based off the SM7B.
Wow.
And I believe the 58s have been used since like the 70s maybe.
Looking at the Shure SM7B, it looks like it's on sale right now. It's usually $499. It's $399 right now.
I mean, that's a deal.
But you're going to, as we're talking about $150.
No, it's like, listen, if you're in this tier where you're debating which webcam to get, do not buy the SM7B.
You'll need an interface. You'll need a cloud lifter.
Yes. So like you'll spend $400 on the microphone itself, and then you'll spend like $150 on like a cloud lifter or a fat head. This is something that like boosts the signal because your interface, which is probably going to cost you another $300, $200 to $300, it's not going to be strong enough to get the audio levels that you need to use the SM7B. So again, that entire setup is like what? Like 400 plus 150. So it was 550 plus like another 150. I'll say 150 for like a cheap Focusrite interface. So 300 plus 400, $700 just for a microphone that you probably couldn't tell the difference between this one. Honestly, save your money until you're ready to upgrade. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I'd spend money on good lights and a good camera before I did that.
Hey, let's talk about lights.
I love lights.
Absolutely correct. Lights make all the difference. I mean, genuinely, if you're lit well, a lot of people are not going to be able to tell what kind of camera you're using, especially on Twitch, which can only receive so much quality. Even on YouTube, which obviously you can upload now in like 4K too, if you are a certain level. I think you have to be partnered on YouTube to upload at that high of quality. So if you're well lit, it's going to be very hard for someone to tell the difference between some of the lower level cameras. I think there is a jump when you switch over to like a DSLR that will be noticeable still.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think it's going to be, but not enough that like, I think with the remote streaming setup, especially if you're just getting started, the goal is to make something that is not distracting. to have no parts of your stream that are of low enough quality to take away from your content.
Yeah.
I want people to not even think about your camera, to not think about your lights or your microphone in the slightest. I just want them to listen to what you're doing and hear you tell your stories because, hey, tell a good story and then maybe you get to upgrade to the next tier because people have watched it and enjoyed it and you get to reinvest in yourself.
Yeah, and the number one thing about that is audio should be your number one focus because you could ignore grainy footage, right? You can watch an old movie, you can watch something just like in and out of focus, Cloverfield or whatever, but you cannot ignore bad audio. It's impossible. Like it's impossible. Like it's painful to like listen to someone with real bad audio. So if you're starting from scratch, like you're in square one, the first thing you do is just focus on audio. And then if you're not ready to upgrade your camera, like let's say you start off with one of these and you're like, oh, I really want to get, a DSLR. I really want to get a mirrorless camera. I would say lighting first before you get that. Try to get this to look the best it can before you upgrade this.
Because then you're going to get a new camera and you're going to go, oh my God, why does it still not look good? I saw all of these people with this camera
exactly.
And be so disappointed with it because that's exactly what I did. Because I started streaming and I was just streaming like video games and streaming from my room before, operating a studio. And I remember getting my first like real camera and turning it on and being so upset.
Really?
And just being like,
yeah.
Oh no. Because I could kind of get away with more.
Yeah.
Before, because it was like, well, it was gonna look like whatever. Anyways, it was kind of what it looks like.
Yeah.
But then I had this nice camera and I was like, oh wow, this really shows the deficiency that I have with lighting.
Yeah, and for lighting, I would do here. I actually brought this over.
Both of us are reaching to the side.
Oh, are you really? Okay, cool. We're the same person, just to let everyone know. Yeah, so I recommend if you're on a budget, I highly recommend these from like Home Depot. You can get them for like $15, I want to say. I would put an LED bulb in this, a daylight bulb. So the different ranges in lighting, the more typical one is like 3200 to 5600. 5600 is kind of like what you're looking at now. It's daylight. 3200 would be like those older yellow bulbs that you have in your house. Just get the daylight bulbs, buy some LED daylight bulbs. You can even buy an adapter to get two inside here. And what you really want to do is soften the light. So you would not put this, I repeat, do not put this on your light, your face just as a whole. Like don't shine this on. It's going to blow out your face. You're going to look ridiculous. What you can do is you can go to Joann Fabrics and you can buy ripstop nylon. It's super cheap. It's the see-through white stuff and you just hang it up in front of it somewhere. You don't have to make your own box for it, although that would help shape the light a lot. Or you can even just go to the dollar store and buy a whiteboard. So you buy a whiteboard, you face the light away from you, and you put the whiteboard right here, and then it comes on your face.
Another cheap one, if you have a bright enough bulb, is parchment paper.
Oh, yeah.
Parchment paper will also diffuse. It's going to block a little more light because it's not as transparent as typically diffusion would be. So you're going to have to power up that light a little bit, but it does a very soft look. And the reason for diffusing it is just because it makes better for beauty light. That's all about you looking pretty and like your skin looking smooth and even across your complexion. Because if you're coming on really, really harsh, you're going to get shadows in places that are probably going to be unflattering. And if you're streaming, you probably have to look at yourself a lot. Make yourself look good. Be kind to yourself.
And like the secret sauce, we don't have it here, but like the best thing you could ever do is get a little tiny light that shines right at the back of your hair. Like right here in the back of your head. We don't have one set up, but I could set one.
Would you use one like this?
You can use one like this. This is a big guy. I don't think you could definitely use one like that. Those are pretty cheap. Yeah, like one of these.
I have so many lights around.
Man, this is green. Go ahead, talk about that one.
It is currently green. This is one of my other favorites for like lights just in front of you. My home streaming setup for the longest time was just two of these guys. This one has barn doors on it, which is nice for just kind of flagging off the direction that you want your light to go. But I also fully clipped a little bit of parchment paper into these with some clothespins.
See, yeah, like right there. See,
very
see
nice.
Here?
Wow, so shiny.
Do. Yeah.
It just helps to define you off of your backdrop a little bit more. These are newer panel lights. A set of these is about $200. It's a little bit of an upgrade from doing something like floodlights, for instance, that you can get at a hardware store. But it makes your life very, very easy. They're very easy to kind of plug in and go. They're adjustable. You can get them in a bicolor, so you can adjust the temperature on them as well. And in itself, it has, obviously, as you can see over the LED panel itself, a little bit of a softness and diffusion. I a lot of the time will take these if you have a white ceiling and use these to just bounce off and fill your room with light a little bit. And that was my home stream setup for the longest time. One of the other things a lot of people will reach for is a ring light.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of a ring light. I think it serves a purpose, but really they were popularized for very specifically like beauty content. I mean, they were popularized by beauty gurus on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that like really specific kind of look in the center of your face, which isn't necessarily what everyone is going for.
Yeah, well, if it is a beauty light, like you said.
Literally.
Yeah, it's literally a beauty light. And the reason is like your camera would sit in the middle of the ring light. So it gives like a full wash over your face. And a lot of streamers or a lot of like every movie you've ever seen has light that is kind of directional. Like you can see right here, this is more lit than the shadow on this side of my face. And it's what gives me depth. But like a beauty light is just going to wash it all out. And that might be a look that you're looking for. I don't know. It'll also give you a really good catch light in your eye.
It will make your eyes very pretty.
Yeah, your eyes will pop when you have it. But again, like very similar. Got it?
Yeah, just gonna fall out of my chair to set that light down because there's no room for it on this desk. We put a bunch of tech up on this desk. Earlier, you mentioned the Stream Deck. The Stream Deck is one of those like very entry-level basics that a lot of people get before they even start streaming because they assume that they're going to need it. You might not need one at all. You might have a simple enough setup where you're sitting directly at your computer and you have no need for the buttons in front of you. The thing that's nice about it, and the reason that I think it is valuable to use, is the less that you can think about the streaming software in front of you, the less you're going to catch yourself on camera later in your VOD like this.
Yeah, and it's actually that's a good note as well, is as you go up in price on a lot of these things, you're not always getting quality in price. You might be getting convenience in price. So it might be solving a problem that you have all the time. Like that light might not have a remote that you just showed, right? So that means depending where it is in your room, you have to reach over, you have to like turn on the switch, you have to like adjust the light a little bit differently because there's windows in the background. Yeah, and there might be something that has a remote or an app or something like that. And you would just in the future, you might invest and pay for that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that like that light is a better quality. Like when you compare that light to the what's the other Elgato one?
Oh, the key,
The key light?
The key light, yeah.
When you like the key light's $200 for just one of those lights, right?
It's the same light.
It's the same exact light, except it works with the Elgato ecosystem, and you can control it on your computer and like all that type of stuff.
UI is a huge quality of life upgrade that might be worth it for you because the less that you can think, the better. So with a Stream Deck, there's a Stream Deck Mini, there's a standard Stream Deck, and there's a Stream Deck XL. A Stream Deck Mini has just 3 buttons. The regular has 9 buttons. How many buttons is that?
15?
15 buttons. Does the first one have 6 buttons? I don't do numbers very well.
What 8 buttons maybe? The little one? The little tiny? Little tiny one?
No.
It has 2 rows, right? You don't have to look it up now.
6 buttons. The Stream Deck Mini has 6 buttons. I think there is actually a pretty small price difference between the Mini and the standard Stream Deck. I would just go for the regular Stream Deck. They also recently released one that has like a little screen on it and a little more for audio monitoring, which is kind of replacing the regular 15 key Stream Deck because a lot of people don't use all 15 buttons, but might have different things like dials that would be more appropriate that you can tune in to different things that you need. If you want something that's more adjustable for your microphone, for instance, or your backing music, if you have some kind of music playing.
I'll even say the Stream Deck is really good. Like if you use other software too, so if you use like Adobe software or stuff like that, like the Stream Deck can come in handy just from like having those hotkeys as well. So it does have other functions other than streaming that I use it for.
Yeah, it's super programmable.
Yeah.
However, if you don't want to spend,
then you don't need it.
$200, you don't have to. You can go straight in if you're using OBS as your software. That's pretty operatable, and it's made to be used while somebody is actively streaming. OBS was not made to be used with another person in the room technical directing your stream. It's supposed to be accessible for a streamer. But there is an alternative as well that I also wanted to shout out. There are actually applications that you can get for your phone in place of it. One specifically is called Touch Portal. It can be set up just like a Stream Deck in front of you, and you probably already have a phone that you can use. It's an app that's available on any smartphone. It's compatible with OBS, with Streamlabs. It can also even be used for like Adobe hotkeys and things like that. And now there is a nice thing about feeling between the buttons without looking that you won't have on a touch screen.
Yeah.
You might be more likely to fumble a button on there. Yeah. But if you're far away from your computer and you still need something, there are options that don't involve having to get another piece of equipment. And then you could maybe put that down the line and focus on a light.
Yeah, and OBS allows you to change those hotkeys too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So just an alternative that you could have. And again, with all of these like remote streaming things that we're saying, this isn't a, hey, get all of it. This is a, hey, here's kind of what your options are for the most part. And things that are just like easily accessible that you'll be able to get on Amazon, you'll be able to get in a Best Buy. There's a streaming section in Best Buy. Did you know that now?
Is it really?
There's like a vlogging and streaming section in Best Buy now. Isn't that wild?
So smart.
I think that that's very, very cool.
Yeah. Elgato has an app too, right?
Yeah, Elgato does have an app that is comparable. I think has a little less because it's specifically for Elgato, whereas Touch Portal is going to be a little easier to sync up with other applications if you're using them as well. But there's a few of those that can be used for things like that. There are some extra things that I have in here that are just like, hey, if you do end up with a camera upgrade, but we'll push those down. A little bit about software. OBS Studio is free.
Yeah.
Use OBS Studio. There are tons of people, especially for remote streams, that want to upgrade on software. You've got people that are paying for subscription fees for all of these things that are deeply unnecessary. Video Ninja, which is video.ninja, is a great newer, I would say, like it didn't exist when I started remote streaming at the beginning of
to replace like Zoom or?
Yeah. So instead of doing a Zoom call, it's going to come back through with like a better fidelity on your camera.
Yeah.
It's a little more just like reliable on that. A lot of people do it over Discord. I find Discord to be the most inconsistent with video quality.
Yeah.
Because of the way that their servers are based, a lot of the time you will just suddenly kind of lose a lot of quality and you can't control it.
Yeah. Video Ninja is great. I've used it a bunch of times. It can, especially if you're using like having other people come into your stream and stuff like that. It's fantastic, but it has some real quirks with some people's like systems for sure.
It does.
Like some people's browsers, it will not work with, or like, I mean, they even have like weird buttons like rainbow button or something like on there. Like in case it goes rainbow on screen, it's literally called the rainbow button. It's weird. Like I don't know if they still have that. I remember that from last year, but yeah, like, OBS is great, and there's also like tons of plugins to do exactly what you want with OBS. The learning curve on it, I feel like it does have a learning curve if you've never used a software kind of like this.
Yeah.
But once you get going with it, first of all, there's tons of tutorials online, tons on YouTube. But once you get going with it, you can really like set it up the way you want with plugins. Because chances are if you have this problem, someone had this problem already and they've already developed some way to fix it.
Yeah. And there's your basics too. You're going to get in, you're going to think about overlays, you're going to think about all of the scenes and stuff like that. You'll have a scene collection that you'll be able to revisit and reuse, that you'll be able to save. Hey, export your scene collections.
Oh, yeah.
Please export your scene collections.
Do that.
Because a lot of people used to stream on Streamlabs and a lot of people don't use Streamlabs anymore for reasons. But there they had cloud save on your overlays, and OBS Studio inherently, like proprietarily, does not. There are plugins that you can add that will make it cloud sync, which is very, very useful because I have fully had a just random hard drive failure and just been like, rip to all the scenes I built. Because that takes time, and it's going to take more time than you think it is. Every time, because we still, even as an in-studio production, we still use OBS for our streams.
Yeah.
Every time that I have to set up for a new show and we have a new overlay collection, it takes me twice as long as I set aside to build out those scenes. And there's just things you forget where you're like, oh, I built 10 different scenes that have cameras on them. I put the microphone on 9 of them.
Yeah, and if you have anything that moves or any type of animation in or some type of timing that you want this to move, it's like everything that's like just this takes some time, right? Like just that you have to like learn. And there's also like, you don't need, if OBS is a little too much for you, if you tried it and you're just like, oh, I don't know. There's also like StreamYard, which is like kind of like this, it's a paid service, but it kind of takes a lot of that hassle out. It's very, it doesn't have everything. It's not fully customizable or whatever, but it's going to get you up and running if you don't want to learn that part, right? Like, let's say you have like some type of business where you're just like, I just need to get out and stream and talk to people. Then yeah, like StreamYard is fantastic. There's also Riverside FM, which I love. It's primarily it's primarily used for podcasts, but for like $20 a month, you get so many hours to record 1080 or 4K for everyone that's on the call. So what's happening, it's recording on everyone's individual computer and it's uploading to their server at the same time. So when the stream is done and say you want it on YouTube, but you want a higher quality on YouTube, fantastic. Highly recommend Riverside FM.
That's really great. When I was still doing a lot of remote shows, the way that we would generally go about that, everybody syncs with a sync clap and everybody's recording locally on Audacity or something like that. Audacity is a free audio recording software. If you want something to record locally, incredibly user-friendly. It might seem intimidating. You'll only use 3 of the buttons anyways. So Audacity is a good option for that, whether you're podcasting or you're streaming and you just want a little bit of a local quality essentially for what you're putting out. And I think that mostly covers the remote streaming setup. Depending on, a lot of this is if you are running the stream. If you're somebody who is just calling in and you are on someone else's stream and you are just a player, you might only need the cameras, the lights, and the microphone. And a lot of this might not be relevant to you. But I'm also in favor of having the information to give yourself the freedom to do what you want. If you're currently a player on someone else's stream, you should have the freedom to be able to do your own as well. And that information should be accessible to you. So I think learning OBS is well worth it. And it's something you can like piece out a little at a time. Make a test channel. Make a test channel. It is such a great thing. Have a channel that has no followers, that no one can access, that you can just go live to so you can listen back. Because a lot of the time when you're monitoring an OBS, it's totally different once it starts streaming out.
Yeah. And really look at other people that are doing exactly what you want to do and take the time to take it apart, to see what they're doing and what you actually like. Because a lot of times it'll be like, oh, their stream looks so good. And it's like, but what about their stream looks so good? Like, what about the lighting? Is it their background? Is it like how their face actually looks? Or is it, the animations that they have in between? Ahead of time, define what makes a professional stream to you and then work backwards from that.
I forgot something incredibly important. You're going to make some kind of overlays. If you want to make any of this, get yourself a Canva subscription. You can use Canva for free, but with the subscription, you get access to their entire database of video, photo, everything. It is the most wildly inexpensive access to stock photo, video, and graphics, and it's for commercial use. And the account is like less than $10 a month, I want to say. It changed the game on the ability to make overlays. It was something that previously, everyone's sucked, mine included, to be clear. And B, you had to have generally the Adobe suite for that, which is expensive, and there is a huge learning curve with that. That's a whole nother skill set that you then have to learn. Canva's so intuitive. Yeah. It's so easy. It's drag and drop. You're like, I don't know, I want something that's like medieval brick. You search it and you use it. And it has a lot of the tools that Photoshop has, which also might be a good way to eventually get yourself to learning Photoshop. There are similarities between the two.
Yeah. If money's an option, I highly recommend, if money's an option and you can't afford Photoshop and you can't afford Canva, get it. If you can't afford Canva, but you got time to learn something, GIMP is free.
Yeah, that's
GIMP
true.
GIMP is Photoshop, but free.
The biggest problem you're going to run into is that you don't have stock assets.
Yeah.
So where are you getting your art in that scenario is something that I ran into a lot when I started streaming because, hey, a lot of people when they start streaming as well are just grabbing pictures off Google Images.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do that, right? That's somebody's work.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, there are also free databases for stock images. And hey, maybe you're an artist.
I recommend Envato Elements. Envato Elements gives you not only images, but graphics. And not only that, it'll give you like video templates. Like it'll give you the streaming in an entire stream.
What's like on that?
It's like $15 a month.
Okay, not bad.
And you get every single part of digital creation. So you'll get music and you'll get sound effects and what else you'll get? I don't know, everything. Video, graphics, fonts, even websites they have.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like everything.
That's huge. Yeah, that's really, really great. So that I think is actually everything for a remote streaming setup. What would be your lights, camera, audio if you were remote streaming setup with a small budget today?
Audio first. Mm-hmm. I think you can get reasonably good audio for under $200.
So you going with like Wave 3?
I'll go with Wave 3.
Okay.
That's
what camera?
Camera. I mean, whatever you have. I feel like the camera is the last thing. Mm-hmm. I almost wouldn't. Here's the thing. I almost wouldn't even buy a webcam. I would just like if you're using a laptop that has a built-in webcam. I think that's good enough. Especially Like you can set it up in a way that it works for you. Because what I would do is I would spend money on the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
I would spend money on at least learning decent lighting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would buy a used camera from 12 years ago on eBay. I would spend, like, you can buy a GH2, which I have, for like $200 on eBay, and it puts out 1080 and it looks gorgeous. Like, yeah.
Okay. And lights. In floodlights or?
Yeah, floodlights. I would buy bulbs and ripstop nylon, and I would just watch some lighting tutorials on YouTube. I'd work on 3-point lighting, and that's what I would do.
All right.
What about you?
I love the idea of buying a secondhand camera. I definitely was playing around recently with a DSLR that I got when I was like 18, I want to say, that I was like, dang, this still looks really good. And a lot of cameras that are older now have software that will allow them to do things that they wouldn't have at the time. Something you'll want to keep in mind if you are running an older or any DSLR, really, you're going to want to get a dummy battery. You want to get something so that it doesn't overheat. Those are just batteries. It's just like an empty battery that sits in your battery slot. Because you're putting a regular battery in it, even if you're like charging it, even if you leave it plugged in, your camera will likely overheat in the length of a stream. So you're going to want to get something like that to replace that. Those are usually $10 to $30. You can find them on Amazon for most cameras. Also because most brands of camera have like a standard battery fit. So I would say that. I would say the LED panels, newer lights are cheap and accessible. And yeah, I think I'd say a Wave 3 as well, because that's cheaper than the Razer Siren.
It's going to come with the software too for you to run the music on your stream, or if you want, or
the software is a great addition.
Anything like that.
Be mindful. It's very easy to accidentally mute yourself on that one.
Yeah.
It's got that touch to mute and not a physical button. People accidentally mute themselves all the time.
It like knows that your finger was on it somehow. Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Something to keep in mind. But let's move into the next category, which is your home studio. Now, defining the home studio to me is I have some friends. We want to play tabletop games. We're going to get together in my dining room, and I'm going to do my very best to film all of us and put this out. Could be streaming. Could be pre-recorded, but now you've got multiple people in the same room, and that creates a whole bunch of new challenges. This is hard to do. Like, I'm just going to fully acknowledge this is very difficult.
It is. And you know, it's not about, so we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, right? Like the foundation that you're going to need, but every single thing on this list is going to come with like 5 accessories that you're going to need. Like, you're going to get a camera and you're like, I got a camera. And then you're going to be like, I need a tripod. And then you're going to be like, oh, I got to plug something in. I need a dummy battery. You know, it's like, oh, I need the HDMI cable that goes to whatever goes to the computer. So like everything that we name, I mean, it does kind of suck that like it does come with something else. Yeah. But like, we'll try to mention it as we go along.
But we're in a different category now. This is not your, I'm trying to do this as affordably as possible. Yeah. This is your, okay, I've been streaming for a little bit. I care about this, and maybe you have an audience that cares about it as well, that is there to receive something that is an elevation. Yeah. Maybe you have an ongoing campaign and you've done a whole season of a remote show and you go, you know what? Let's do the finale in person. Let's all get together. Because man, there's nothing like playing games with your friends in the same room. So one of the biggest difficulties is that in this scenario, it's very hard to do with one camera. It is very hard to get an angle of that many people, because let's say a tabletop game, you have a minimum of 4 players and a GM, most likely. It's very difficult to get a flattering angle of 5 people where you can see their expressions with one camera.
Yeah.
Typically with that, the standard upgrade is 3 cameras.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's pretty much, It
is. And it is because here's the thing. If you had some kind of really fancy custom built table where all of you could be on the same side of the table and you can get into that same plane, you might be able to do it with less cameras. But most likely you're going to be around a dining table. It's going to be a rectangular table, and you're going to be doing your best to capture those angles. So you're going to have one that's going towards your GM, and one towards one side of the table, and one towards another.
Yeah, the only other way you can probably do that is if you're all on the same plane, all in a row, like Last Supper style, I guess. That would probably be the only other way you can do it, because what ends up happening is with the camera, you all have to, in order to be in focus, you'll all have to be sort of within the same plane, or else like you're going to need a ton of lights.
It was a great example. You just went out of focus when you leaned back.
Yeah, it's going to be impossible. So I guess you could technically just get a really good camera that can punch in and just like punch in on 2, punch in on 1. You can do that if you're all on the same plane. But again, the camera's going to be way more expensive because you're going to need to do like 4K, 6K, and the person and then it'll have to go into the computer to do that.
Yeah. You're also going to have to start thinking about things like eyeline, for instance, what that looks like. Because if we're sitting like this and we're all in a row and I want to look at the person over there.
Is that hard? Yeah, it's kind of hard.
Want to see the person down there?
Yeah.
You're going to miss all of my great reactions.
Oh, my great You're going to miss all my great reactions.
You can't miss my great reactions.
Yeah. They should, put that on the box, the box of the second camera, right? Right. Don't miss her great reactions.
Thank you. So a lot of people make this upgrade. You can do it with different brands of cameras, but an industry standard is commonly Blackmagic. Now that's a spency upgrade. That's a spicy, pricey upgrade. I don't have a much lower option to offer you for this because like once you're doing this, you're kind of doing it. Now something you could do is rent. Something you could do is buy secondhand. There's a lot of people that are upgrading at this point and maybe their cameras are 5 years old and this studio has decided that they're ready to move on. Those cameras you're going to be able to get much, much cheaper. That was what we did when we moved in person the first time. We bought an entire package of Blackmagic cameras secondhand. People were moving on. They were SDI still. So we were running them through an SDI to HDMI converter to even get them into my computer.
Yeah, there's 2 ways to go to send the video out. HDMI, which most of you probably know, and then there's SDI, which is a little bit more secure.
Yeah. But also a little bit harder to find like interfaces for at this point because it's a little bit dated.
Well, it's for more professional sites is really what it is. So there's not a lot of like prosumer stuff out there. And I will say when you're buying cameras, when you decide like I'm going to buy 3 cameras, the first thing you should do before deciding the camera is deciding like the lens and the ecosystem you want to build in because like cameras are a dime a dozen. Like there is a new camera coming out from whatever company you're going to buy from this year. Yeah. Like it will happen. You want to know whether or not the lens you bought last year will work on that. So instead of spending a lot of money on a camera body, spend a lot of money on better glass. That's what I recommend. Because like what a lot of people do is like, oh, well, I want to get a $2,000 camera or even like a $1,200 camera. And then they use the kit lens, which is very soft and it doesn't look as good and it doesn't, and then they think, oh, my camera's crap. And it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the lens that they bought. So I would highly recommend deciding what ecosystem you want to live in, whether it's Sony or Canon or Fuji or Blackmagic, the size you want. So like the sensor size, which could be micro four thirds, APS-C or full frame. And then decide like what type of lens you like, what type of lens you think are worth it. And then I just buy a used camera body. Yeah. I would just buy a used camera body.
Used is 100% the way to go if you are making that upgrade for the first time. When I moved into this level, I love this guy. This is a Sony ZV-E10. It's really nice. The body I think is like about $600. Yeah. Which is, lower than that $1,200 camera, and that's it new. So if you can find one secondhand, even better. But they look beautiful. It's absolutely fantastic. This actually is the kit lens on it. This one's a 16 to 50, and it looks great. Yeah. I love this thing. It's very much your plug-in, point and shoot kind of camera, which I think if you're at that level where you're experimenting with like cameras for the first time, something that's going to make your life a little easier, something that you're not going to have to work really hard to make look good, is a very nice quality of life. Improvement.
And when you're looking, something I should mention, when you're looking for if you're looking for a used camera, make sure it sends out 1080p HDMI. A lot of the older cameras had limitations, and some of them don't send it out, but some of them now have software that cracks it and allows you to send out that 1080. Yeah. So highly recommend looking it up first before buying. This camera came out in the last 2 years.
Yeah, this one's new.
Yeah, this one's brand new. APS-C lens. And yeah, like you can live in this system. I don't recommend micro four thirds anymore. Yeah. I don't think anyone's really making micro four thirds, but that being said, you can find micro four thirds everywhere now.
This is micro four thirds, but Blackmagic is also.
This is micro four thirds?
I think it's not.
I think it's APS-C. Yeah.
But Blackmagic's still running on micro four thirds.
Blackmagic still runs on Blackmagic Studio. Yeah. Blackmagic Studio cameras are micro four thirds. Blackmagic Pocket 6K, 4K, those are Super 35 APS-C.
Yeah. to run those cameras, you're going to need them. You can't plug those straight into a computer. You're going to need a capture card of some kind. There are a bunch of different kinds. One that you probably know is the Camlink. Camlink is very, very easy. It goes HDMI in to USB and you plug it right into your computer. I will say, notoriously kind of faulty. Notoriously just has issues. It's very straightforward and it's the easiest. So if you're doing something where you're just running one camera, that's fine. But if you're running a bunch of them, you're probably going to wear out your system. You're not going to want to run 4 cam links into it. Computers don't process that terribly well, even on a very nice PC build. So instead of that, I would upgrade to an internal capture card, which is always going to be a little bit smoother for you, a little bit less user-friendly in that you'd have to install an internal capture card, but tons of tutorials for that. There are a bunch of options for it. If you only need to run one camera, the AverMedia 4K is really nice because it gives you the room to upgrade without replacing your capture card. Elgato also has their Camlink Pro, which has 4 slots, which is very nice. It's at a much lower price point than 4-port capture cards had been previously. Previously, one of the standards was the Blackmagic deck, and that was usually sitting around $900. And that's a huge extra investment after you've bought cameras. Oh my God. So the Elgato Camlink Pro, I think is about $450. Okay. I think it's about $400. And like, that's not a small amount of money.
No.
But in comparison, I'm double checking the price. Oh, this is not the one with 4 ports, is it? Wait, it is. It was $250, and it's currently on sale.
Wait, that's 4 ports?
Yeah, 4 HDMI inputs. It is 1080, but that's fine. Again, you're really realistically not going to go above 1080 right now. Yeah.
That's wild.
That's a much lower price than it hit the market on. That has dropped in price.
Wild.
That's currently $160 on Amazon. We're really doing this like the Home Shopping Network right now.
Yeah. No, I'm not trying to sell. No. I'm not trying to sell. No. I'm not trying to sell or anything. I remember looking into those like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and they were ridiculously high.
Yeah.
$159. That's wild. Yeah.
It currently says it's on sale from $250.
We don't even need to talk about anything else. We don't need to talk about it. Like, just buy that. That's $150. Yeah.
It's great. I still use it in my PC right now, and it's excellent, and it's great. Another thing that you can do, a great upgrade, is I love the NDI Tools package. This is a software upgrade that you can do in addition to your OBS. If you want to do something like a mini cam on the table and you don't want to have to buy another camera, figure out how to operate a camera that's going to get in that close, you're going to have a whole nother lens, a whole different lens situation. You can use your phone as an NDI camera through the NDI Tools. There'll be a little bit of lag, so keep that in mind and prepare for it, but not so much that it's unusable, especially for something like a mini cam. Fully usable, a great tool, and you could even use it as an extra camera. People are using their phone as webcams now through like NDI sources or certain Elgato apps. They're very useful.
What's the quality on that when it comes through?
I think it can come through at 1080.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never used one before.
I'm pretty sure on NDI it can come through at 1080s. I don't use it as much for cameras. I use it a lot for getting my laptop feed in. So if you want to do something like show your character sheet, for instance, we do a show on this set where we show our computers a lot, and we use NDI every morning just to mirror our computer screens on a laptop that's disconnected, which is really, really great. You got to make an upgrade to lights on this one. Now you've got people in the same room, which is also, again, much harder to light because now you've got to make not just yourself look pretty, you've got to make like
other people look pretty.
5 or 6 or 7 people look pretty. And that's tough. That's not easy to do in a professional studio setting. You're probably going to be limited on space as well, which means you're not going to have a lot of room, especially if you're all cramming into your dining room for like giant soft boxes, for instance. LED panels, I think, are still a viable option in this. They're not going to give as much light. You're probably going to need a lot of them, but they're extremely space efficient.
Yeah, and you can hang them up with, like, if you have a drop ceiling, it's really easy just to like get a pin. Like, you can look them up. It's like a baby pin that works specifically for drop ceilings. I know a lot of people stream from their basement and stuff like that. Those are great. You don't trip over the cords. You can just hang it up. Panels are great for that. Obviously, you can get better quality stuff as well. It really depends. Like, you're going to pay more money for better quality of light, better LEDs inside the light as well, which obviously you have to do a lot of research, but there's a bunch of companies that make really good lights: Aperture, Amaran, Nanlite, Godox, but then a lot of other companies are in it too. Like Small Rig is now making stuff.
Small Rig is comparably priced to Aperture. Like I said, Newer also makes now some of the larger lights, like the 200Xs we're on right now. They have an equivalent for it.
It's a really cool. I was going to say a really exciting time for lighting. I love lighting in case you didn't know. It's a real exciting time for lighting right now because there's a bunch of companies that previously didn't make lights. Like Small Rig was known for making like accessories for your camera, like a cage for your camera. But now they're making lighting, like even iFootage only made tripods. And this year they started coming out with lights, and it has more to do with like the cost of LEDs have gone down dramatically. And a lot of the same manufacturing companies that make like stuff for the big boys are now making stuff. They're set up in a way where they can make stuff for like smaller companies, which is really cool.
That is really cool. We even have, we showed one of these earlier.
Yeah.
I love these things. These are like $89. They're so small and they can give off so much light, which is very, very fun. These are also like full color spectrum, which is very, very cool. If you want to do something that's like, hey, we have a kind of boring backdrop, for instance. Let's spill a little bit of color onto it. It'll help remove you off of the backdrop a little bit. If you're just like on curtains or on a plain wall, that'll help your background look a little more dynamic and interesting. You don't have to light it very much. You can really give it just a lot of color. And they're all controllable by an app. This gets into that like ecosystem conversation again, where it's very nice to have things that are attached to it. I keep 5 of these around the studio and I use them so much.
Yeah, I have a bunch of them too. They're fantastic. They're also USB-C, so you can just plug them in as well. So if you're worried about like, oh, we're going to stream for 5 hours or whatever, like chances are this will be dead after 2. Like depending on how bright it is, it'll be dead at 1 if you have it on full blast. But yeah, USB-C, they're fantastic. They're also magnets on the back.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why I did that.
They can't see it, but you have to just believe us.
But like that, right? It's like on there. These are fantastic. You could hide them anywhere. They're great for like accent lights, like if you're like building a set or something. But again, like this is Aperture, and Aperture is a brand. It's a prosumer brand, and it's kind of like one of the higher up ones. So you will pay a little bit extra just for that convenience. Just for, their app and like being able to like do those types of things. But like you can find a knockoff of this light probably for like $30 too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But also, hey, bestie, 5 hours? Settle down. It's a long game.
Yeah, it's a long game.
It's a long game.
Just like,
get yourself some water.
Yeah.
Take a break.
Yeah, wrap it up. Just wrap it up.
Wrap it up. I don't want to spend as much time on the like full studio idea. Because you're going to be in a very different place than you probably are when you're watching this panel, when you're getting into, hey, I'm operating a production studio, or you might be renting a space that you can use from somebody else that will have a lot of the equipment in it. But in general, I mean, you're going to have probably at that point another camera upgrade. You might be able to expand to more cameras, or you might just be upgrading the quality of your cameras. You're definitely going to want to do some lighting upgrades because you're going to have more space to do so. So everything's going to get a little bit prettier. Audio boards is going to be a huge upgrade. We use a Zoom L12 board because we need at least 7 for our standard game, 6 players and a GM. Those are incredibly hard to find, not the L12 in particular, but finding an audio board that has enough of those that isn't like a full-size television studio board.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the thing with the Zoom L12, it has faders as well, so you can like change things and move things around. Like previously, I had used a Focusrite 18i20, which also had 8 inputs, but it only had gain, right? Like that is specifically used in like a recording studio if you're doing like drums or something, because you want to have like several microphones going at once. It worked great. I would need a third-party software to run that into OBS in order to get everything. But yeah, the Zoom L12 is fantastic. What a lot of people do is, so that's the thing too about the L12. It can send individual signals to the computer, but what a lot of people do is they send everything into a mixer, and then they send one signal of audio mixed to their computer. That's usually what people do typically.
Yeah, it's just easier and it's easier to monitor throughout the stream. You're going to have less flexibility, but if you don't have a large crew size, you're not really going to be able to get into the like nitty gritty during a stream anyways. So that should be more than enough, and it should make your life just a little bit easier.
Yeah, if you're not hitting every single microphone with something in post or something before it goes to OBS, if it's just going straight from like an L12 into OBS,
Not going to sound good no matter what.
Yeah, just get a mixer. Like you don't need to spend that much money. Yeah.
At that point, you'll be on lavs. We didn't really talk about audio for the in-studio upgrades.
Yeah.
You're probably going to want to be on lavs. Some people will switch over to a boom mic or a table mic. Table mics are a little bit risky if you're doing things like physical dice rolls. A lot of the time, that will cause some noise. Even if your players are just doing things where they set their hands on the table. I don't know. I can't use table mics because I will simply slap them around. Yeah, I can't be trusted with them.
So you can use a table mic if your crew puts on headphones. That's the only way you'll be able to stop all the noise and all the little things that'll happen. I used table mics with SM58s for a very long time. They were great. Very little table noise. I think because everyone had headphones on, everyone was very aware of the noise that they were making.
I won't do it.
Don't do it if you're not wearing headphones.
I won't do it.
Yeah.
These hands can't be stopped. I'm sorry.
But you could always use headsets too. You can use like a headset. Those work fine. Yeah, lavs work great, but lavs also pick up other people in the room. So like know how well your room is treated when you're doing sound.
And also know that if you're going to wear headsets, you can't wear horns. And I also know that that's a problem. You can't wear any antlers. You can't wear any horns. It's going to get in the way.
Yeah. I noticed you wrote that all down on your notes.
Yeah, that was one of my primary notes. It actually was in bold.
It's very bold. Yeah.
We do have a couple of things that I just thought would be like questions. I also sourced a couple from Twitter since we're not actually like live right now. We're just telling you right now. You've been bamboozled.
Wait, what? This is the past?
It's not 4:00 in the morning Pacific time or whenever you're watching this. But we hope you've had a great Big Bad Con so far. So some of these that we got here, one favorite piece of gear or tech that just makes your job easier.
That just makes my job easier.
Just one piece that gives you that little quality of life upgrade. And it might even be something that's a little extra that might not be necessary.
I got two.
Okay.
One, the Stream Deck. It's funny because we literally just said it's not important, but it really is.
Makes our lives
but it does.
Easier.
But it does. It really does.
Extra.
Yeah. There is, and my second one is there is a Power 6 strip that I have, and it has switches for each thing. So when I'm ready to stream, like my camera's hooked up, my light's hooked up, like everything's just like do.
It feels kind of cool turning it on, doesn't it?
I feel like a freaking Ghostbuster every time I do that. It feels incredible.
I was also going to say the Stream Deck.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, it's just correct. That's just absolutely accurate. Also on Twitter, we were asked, how would you get an overhead mini cam? Something to capture something like a battle map or crafting or mini painting. We were talking earlier about the idea of using like a phone to get in there with it. If you're doing something like crafting though, and you probably do want that overhead, I think that the top-down overhead is over for me when it comes to just miniatures. I think it's not the most interesting angle of them. You're seeing the tops of their heads. You're not seeing the details of the miniatures or the terrain for the most part. It's not a super interesting angle to me. But if you're doing something like I stream crocheting, you probably want that angle. You can probably achieve it with just piping, honestly. You can get most of the supplies for that at the hardware store, and then just a very secure mount for your camera, but you're going to want to build yourself a little upside down U.
Yeah, if you have a... I guess it's like the answer for I don't understand. That's a gang sign. That's what that looks like.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Don't try to recruit us, gangs. We're not into that.
Please.
Don't even try it.
Please, we're so over time.
No. Yeah, it really depends. Like if you have a full DSLR, that rig has to be like set up for that weight. And at that point, it's probably a C-stand with an arm or something like that you weigh down with sandbags. If it's your phone, I mean, the phone iPhones can get so wide, the camera gets so wide that you can just if it's right here, you're getting everything, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm still saying a phone for it because also if you're trying to mount a DSLR up there, you have to factor in weight so differently and the weight of your lens. And it's so nerve-wracking to have it up there that if you don't need that yet or you don't need that amount of detail, phone cameras are incredible at this point. No one's going to be able to tell the difference. Just get something that's sturdy enough that's not going to be shaky. So weight that thing down.
Yeah.
There are other questions on here that I think we're running out of time to get to.
Okay. We're not answering your questions.
However,
you know how late it is right now?
However, Big Bad Online has been kind enough to set up a Discord channel because it's going to be the middle of the night Pacific Standard Time when this streams for us. I won't be available for a live Q&A, but I will be jumping into the Discord to answer some of your questions if you might have them when I wake up. Hopefully I'm not awake. If I'm awake when this is happening right now, everyone tell me to go to bed. If you see me in chat.
I will be with you in spirit.
He's not answering any questions. He's not joining the Discord.
No.
None of it.
No, I'm joining a gang.
Anyways, hey, thank you so much for watching the panel. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Thank you to Big Bad Con Online for having us. Hey, we love Big Bad. This is very cool, and I'm very glad that it's happening. And I'm very glad that there's an online version so that this information can get to more people. The in-person con is a wonderful time.
Yes.
But man, an online con can be very fun too.
It's very fun.
Still feels like a convention. All right. I love you. Goodbye.
I love you. Goodbye.